Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update. We give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Today is Monday, October 17th. We are coming at you at the top of a beginning of another week of earnings, I should say. We have earnings all month, so it's probably going to be see some interesting volatility in the range. Positively to start, Bitcoin daily sentiment quite bullish, Cardano bullish. Ethereum, unfortunately, still neutral, but hourly looking strong, as with many other assets. And if you remember, mid to late last week, a lot of these were were more bearish and quite bearish neutral, and now we're starting to see some variance. We're definitely still seeing some bearish neutral assets, but we're starting to see a lot of bullish neutral and outright bullish assets on the hourly and daily scale. So great start to the week, but we have also seen positive starts to the week end up basically retracting themselves as we continue throughout the week, given the macro situation. So something to be wary of, as we start the week on a strong foot. We've been ending the weeks on, a bad foot, if you will. That is, that's definitely something to at least be concerned over, especially as we continue to walk through earnings. And of course, the larger earnings tend to be in the middle and the late end of the week. So starting beyond sentiment, looking at equities, basically throughout the night. Well, let's actually start with where we closed on Friday. So we closed Friday right around, right around 35.86. We really wanted to close above 35.90. So we ended up opening actually back at 35.90. And opening and heading to 3,600. We eventually rose throughout the evening into the morning. So we technically had a gap this morning at market open, which was right around here, which is interesting. So if you look at SPX, there is a gap here that will end up likely being closed. So that is something to look out for. That gap will basically be, let's see how wide the gap is. The gap is about 2%, 1.75%. Something to be cognizant of. Typically, those gaps end up getting closed. So we'll have to keep a lookout for that in the future. But equities do look quite strong. We're obviously reaching oversold territory. Not the first time we've reached this, to start the week. Look at October 3rd, where we basically had a blast off all the way into Wednesday. So again, something to be cognizant of, because after that Wednesday, we were basically put into quite a negative situation in the market. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again, but we do have a POC here at 36.90. We do have heavy resistance here at 37.20. So basically, if it cannot breach, if it cannot flip this POC into support and then flip this area into support, we are likely, I would say, probably headed back down within the range. Just given the fact that we have this gap that I mentioned previously, we have these POCs here. This basically looks like a fantastic range that equities may trade in moving forward, especially when we account for this price action here. Something else to be considerate of is just this downward trajectory. So considering, this is still, what would be considered a bearish trend. And actually, if we actually wanted to draw it up here, we can see that the trend is technically broken. But if we wanted to extend that out to make it a more local trend, we can see that it is still basically stopping right where you would expect it, which is right at current resistance. So considering we're oversold, considering there's no real catalyst for strength, it would not shock me to maybe see some deviation and then coming back into the range, something, maybe a little bit less ugly than straight down, but it would shock me to continue higher without too much of a catalyst moving forward. But we did have this morning the UK officially rolling back on their tax breaks, which was definitely a reason for a big boost this morning. We also saw the British pound pop in the morning as well. So we had our catalyst very early, which was the UK removing those tax cuts that sent all of the EU and some of America into turmoil when they were announced. So something to be cautious of here is this is technically where you would expect price action to return. We of course have the 200-day moving average at 36.60, and the VWAP will likely mean it by the time that the hourly gets there. So 36.50, 36.60 would want to see hold right here for continuation. Else, it is probably likely headed at least to 3,600, potentially 3,680, 3,670. Now, comparing that to crypto, let's check out sentiment. So bullish sentiment over the weekend for Bitcoin. We obviously reached a peak here at 85, and we've come down ever since. But hourly sentiment, not entirely positive either, or not entirely. What's a better way to say this? Daily sentiment is coming down, and hourly sentiment is bearish. So there is no real catalyst again for bullish continuation for Bitcoin based on sentiment and with equities looking the way they do. But of course, we'll have to check out the technicals as well. So the biggest thing to me that I saw on this chart this morning after the boost was the fact that we had bearish divergence. And what? Am I crazy? Somehow my RSI disappeared. So let's go ahead and let's just reset this chart really quickly. Apologies to everyone on the stream. Sometimes TradingView does not want to cooperate in the way that you would wish. Come on, TradingView. I love how technology loves to lag in the most important scenarios. I have no clue how my RSI chart got disappeared either. That's must be ghosts in the computer. Alrighty, so now that we have RSI back, we can go ahead and draw this trend. So basically we have bearish divergence on Bitcoin as of a few hours ago. As you can see here, we have basically a flat RSI. And then we have, increasing price action. So, increasing from Sunday afternoon to Monday morning, RSI flatline. And then we also have, this kind of RSI trend, which looks like it's broken as well. So that tells me that Bitcoin's likely headed back slightly lower. 19.4 is where the VWAP is. So if we end up heading lower, we obviously have the VWAP at 19.4, which could serve as a catalyst. We also have 19.2, which is this POC that could serve as a catalyst. And then, of course, we have 19.1 at the POC, which could serve as a catalyst as well. So given just the general formation that, equities we're looking at, and I think we can probably, equal that that action on this chart as well. Yeah, so see, you can also see the trend right there. And I know it's a little bit ugly with these green lines, but basically we had bearish divergence into a downward trend. And now we are basically likely at the mercy of that divergence, heading lower. And then we have 19.4, 19.2, and 19.1 to serve as bullish catalyst. 19.1 obviously has the most liquidity, but there is a lot of liquidity here all the way down to 19.4. So I would assume that a battle would ensue between 19.5 and 19.4. And if 19.4 is broken, we would probably end up seeing 19.1 because there's not too much liquidity at 19.2 although there is confluence of the 200 moving average on the hourly, 50 moving average, and 100 moving average along with that POC, which makes it a pretty strong area. So, and my best guess, based on sentiment, based on daily sentiment, and based on hourly sentiment for Bitcoin, we're definitely headed probably tag 19.4, potentially headed to tag 19.1, given how strong support has been. As long as the equities don't start heading, lower than 3,600, 3,850, then I would expect Bitcoin to probably hold that 19.1 level. Looking at Ethereum, very similarly to Bitcoin, we have hourly bullish or bearish divergence. So price headed higher, RSI stagnant, RSI trend broken. We have Ethereum's currently sitting at its VWAP around 1320. If 1320 breaks, I'm certain that 1300 will act as some form of support, as there's POC to all confluence of my moving averages. And then if 1300 breaks, then we have 1280. So given that bearish divergence, given that, again, equity is likely to face some weakness, we're sitting on top of the VWAP now. We head here. You potentially have a bounce up here, maybe as high as the previous level, and then, or we end up falling lower. And if Bitcoin tags 19.1, then I would expect Ethereum to be at 1280 or 1260 for potentially a bounce out of that as well. So basically, we had a big boost this morning. We've seen that on Mondays. It has continued into Tuesdays, but sentiment right now is bearish. Equities don't look extremely strong. And it's likely that we continue to range as we continue to need to digest earnings, which we'll discuss more in the TTC newsletter that'll be released this afternoon. So if you're not subscribed to the TTC newsletter, then you should go ahead and to tradethechain.com and sign up now. We're going to discuss earnings and other, macroeconomic impacts on the market for this week. But right now, if we basically, and I guess one thing that I did not say is that if Bitcoin and Ethereum buck these trends, of course, the main thing is they need to break above the downward trend, and then they need to break above the recent highs. And then that area would be where I would be comfortable saying we're going to have liftoff or we're going to make a decision. Ranging makes more sense, especially given the downtrend. But, if we do end up bucking, this bearish divergence and lifting off from these VWAPs, then, we need to firmly lift above resistance, and then we need to continue to head higher. So that's the outlook. Of course, I'm never 100% correct. Current bias is slightly down, at least into close, but the targets that we need to hold, that being 1320 for ETH and 19.4 for Bitcoin. If those break, we're headed lower. If those hold, we could be headed higher. So good luck, happy trading. I will see everybody tomorrow. And again, if you're not subscribed to the TTC newsletter, get subscribed now. That'll be released later today. Good luck and happy trading.